Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us live from Simon Schuster today for a very special holiday-themed Books for Cooks chat. I'm Molly Piper. I am the marketing manager at Simon Element, a division of Simon & Schuster. And I'm so excited to be here today with my colleague, publicist extraordinaire Nick Teodoro, and our special guests, author Priyanka Nayak, author of The Modern Tiffin, and Valentina Musi, author of the unofficial TikTok cookbook. Really quick, before we dive in, I just wanted to let everybody know about a sweepstakes we will be holding down in the comments. So for a chance to win a copy of the cookbooks we're talking about today, just leave a question in the comments below, and 2 lucky winners will receive a copy of The Modern Tiffin and the unofficial TikTok cookbook. And now, without further ado, I'd love to welcome our special guests. Priyanka, do you want to kick us off and share a little bit about yourself and the book?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. It's so lovely to see everyone's faces, and I hope everyone's gearing up for the holidays. I sure am. I have sweatpants on underneath this. You probably just can't see it on screen, so I'm definitely ready. But hi, everyone. I'm Priyanka Nayak. I'm a self-taught vegan chef and now author. I am a Food Network champion. I'm a blogger. I'm a TV personality. I feel like the list can go on, but I think my greatest achievement so far has been my little baby here, The Modern Tiffin.
Awesome. Thanks, Priyanka. Valentina, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Valentina Musi. I'm the author of the unofficial TikTok cookbook. I have it right here. My book came out earlier June this year, and it's been such a lovely process. So a little background on me. I'm an Italian-Colombian, I guess, home chef. That's what I call myself now. I started this journey when I was really young, like fresh out of high school. And nowadays I have over 500,000 followers on Instagram, over 1 million on TikTok. And I just love all things food, all things trendy. And I love traveling. I've traveled a bunch this year, and I've been showcasing a lot of like fun eats around the world. I went to Russia, I was in Paris, Colombia, and I just ate my way through those countries, and I've been sharing that on social.
Well, wonderful. So before we sort of launch into our questions with our 2 wonderful authors, Priyanka, just in case some of the people who are tuning in may not be familiar with a tiffin, if maybe you could, before we get into our holiday themed questions, go into a little bit of what a tiffin is and sort of what inspired you to rethink and modernize a tiffin.
Sure, yeah. So obviously the name of my cookbook is The Modern Tiffin. So what you see on here is a tiffin, and lucky for everyone here, I actually have one in person because it would be very off-brand if I didn't actually own a tiffin. This one happens to be gold, but they're usually just made of steel. And basically it's a tiered steel stacked container set that's then latched, and you can hold it. So it's meant to make food portable. And this is over 130-year-old tradition in India. Food and cooking is really a huge part of the culture, and it still is. And so it kind of came out of a tradition of wanting to have a fresh meal at every meal of the day. Fresh food's really important in India. No matter what kind of socioeconomic status you're from, fresh food is like part of the culture and life. So when people would go to work, if there was someone back home in the house during the day, they would actually cook a fresh meal, pack it into the tiffin, and then tiffin wallas, which are basically tiffin delivery guys, would come up, pick up each tiffin from the house, latch it onto their bike, and bike it downtown to wherever the offices are and hand deliver them. So everyone at work can have a fresh meal. So I grew up first generation Indian American in New York City. My mom packed me and my sister's lunch every single day. They were all Indianish, and we did get made fun of our lunches at school, but I didn't care. I brought them every day. And even after graduating college and entering the workforce, I brought my lunch every day to work. So it's a huge part of my life. So I wanted to instill those values in my generation and the generation younger in the Western world. So that's what a tiffin is.
Well, that's really lovely, and I love the fact that you're able to have it with you and bring it with you, and it's this thing that you're able to pass on to everybody else. It's a lovely tradition. So as Molly mentioned, we're doing sort of a holiday themed books for cooks. So my question for both of you are just sort of, what are your favorite holiday meal traditions? What are some things that, you and your family have done that have always sort of marked the holiday season? And are you getting ready to either make or enjoy that this year?
I'll let you go first, Valentina.
Okay, not a problem. So for me, the holidays are maybe a little different just because I come from a blended background. My father's Italian, my mom's Colombian. So my holiday dinners, we celebrate Christmas. We celebrated the 24th, so Christmas Eve, that's my actual Christmas. And it's very mixed. So you have Colombian food and Italian food. So you'd have things like buñuelos, which are like these round little yuca balls. They're fried and they're really delicious. We also have something called natilla, which is kind of like a cane sugar pudding. It's really dark in color, very sweet. It has like that kind of like smoky flavor, like that strong cane sugar, like really good brown sugar, let's say. And then we also have Italian desserts like panna cotta. A lot of the times we make pasta. So you have like this really, really big blended feast of foods. It's kind of weird. Like you would never picture yourself eating a tamal while eating pasta at the same time. But it's something I really love. I love how my family just has done this for years, ever since my parents got married like 24 years ago. So I always look forward to the holidays, and I'm in charge of desserts most of the time. So I try to make one Latin dessert and one Italian dessert at least. We also eat a lot of panettone, which is, I'm sure you guys see in grocery stores, like those beautiful cakes. I tried making it last year and it came out good, but it took me 3 days. So I don't think I'll do that again. But the reason why I love cooking so much is probably has to do with the holidays and how I got to interact with my family. Everyone in my family cooks. So everyone gets assigned a dish from my uncle, my dad, my grandparents, my grandfather before he passed away, my mom, even the kids. So we were all like very, very much involved in the kitchen. So we just get to eat like this really big meal, and it's just something I look forward to every single year.
And does your family do the Feast of the Seven Fishes on Christmas Eve, or do you pick and choose fish that you enjoy?
So my mom isn't really like a big fish fan. So I
Uh-huh.
learned how to eat fish like mostly on my own. My dad loves seafood, but as you know, like usually moms have the last word. And that happens in my house. So
It should be.
I do fish because my mom doesn't like fish, even though my dad and I love fish. So yeah, it's whatever my mom wants at the end of the day.
Well, all of that sounds delicious. And Priyanka, what sorts of things, do you have to look forward to this year? Whether that be, a tradition that you enjoy celebrating with your family, a food specifically that you like eating, so same question as Valentina.
Yeah, so although I'm born and raised in New York City, I am first generation Indian, and many times I describe myself as being more Indian than I am American because I grew up speaking my native language before I spoke English. Like I went to India every single year of my life, and I had a really thick Indian accent actually growing up, which is very bizarre because I grew up here. But I bring that up because a lot of our kind of holidays and traditions obviously are not Western. They're very much Indian in nature. And so like the biggest one just passed, which is Diwali, which is the Festival of Lights, every part of India. And, even outside of India, it's like one of the biggest celebrated festivals and traditions in India. So we have a lot of different dishes, traditional dishes that we make for that. But in respect to Western holidays, we did grow up with like putting a Christmas tree up and putting decorations up because although we're Hindu, like we still wanted to be part of the culture here. And honestly, we just wanted gifts. So we were like, hey, like all these other kids are like, they have like gifts under this tree. Like we need that too. So we definitely partook in all of those different kind of, I would say, Western cultures that may not be as like traditional to what the religion indicates for that holiday. But from a food standpoint, I grew up on Staten Island. So if anyone knows anything about Staten Island, yes, it's the forgotten borough of New York City, but it is pretty much like an extension of Italy. So it's very Italian American. So after Indian food, our like next favorite cuisine in the house is Italian. So we'll have a lot of different like Italian desserts present there. So like strufoli and biscotti. My mom actually makes really good biscotti. I know we're not Italian, but we're kind of half Italian because we're on Staten Island. So we have a lot of Italian dishes. And then there's actually no traditional dishes that we stick to because it's kind of we're just like, oh, we'll just kind of make something Americanized with some Indian flair. So like many a times I'll make something like a cauliflower steak with like a rice pilaf and make it like Christmassy. Or last year I created this really fun savory candy cane. So I used store-bought crescent dough, which by the way is vegan. So FYI, vegan, yeah. So I used store-bought crescent dough. I stuffed it and shaped it into a candy cane. And then I drizzled it with a green chutney and pomegranate. So it looked like a Christmassy candy cane. So really just like no tradition for this stuff, just like having fun with it.
Well, I definitely should have eaten lunch prior to coming on here because my tummy is grumbling now listening to all of this.
I know. I was just going to say, I think we're going to need that candy cane recipe. I speak for everyone. Well, I'll just jump in because we actually have some great audience questions incoming, not to stray too far from our holiday theme. But Patrick on Facebook was wondering what your favorite TikTok recipe is. So Valentina, do you want to take the charge on that one first?
Yeah, I feel like that's aimed towards me. So I love all things TikTok. I spend way too much time on the app. And I think my all-time favorite recipe is probably dalgona coffee. So the whipped coffee. Here's a photo of mine. That's my all-time favorite recipe just because it's so simple. And I think that a lot of the inspiration for this book came during the quarantine period. I mean, that's basically when I wrote it. And what I really love about this recipe is that just like 3 ingredients that most people had in their pantries, like laying around, especially, I don't know, I mean, we probably don't want to remember this. There was a time where getting ingredients and food was a little difficult, so we're kind of just scavenging through our pantries trying to figure out what to make with what we had. So you just need hot water, some instant coffee, white sugar, and patience, I would say. If you don't have an electric mixer and you want to whip it by hand, it takes a couple minutes. It's a good exercise. And then the result is like beautiful, like foamy coffee. So I think that's before the quarantine, I wouldn't drink coffee too much. I like the taste, but I wouldn't drink it every day. I think that after discovering dalgona coffee and whipped coffee, I kind of just became obsessed. And now I have a cup of coffee every day. So that's probably my favorite recipe. And then after that, I think I started making so many different versions that I started making this thing called whipped milk. So from that, I took inspiration. I made non-coffee versions of that with heavy creams, kind of making like a whipped cream and serving it the same way. So I took that as inspiration. So that's why it's probably my favorite recipe. I mean, I love the taste, but also it inspired me so much to continue and make my own.
Wait, I have to comment two things on that, because I actually was gonna say one of my favorite TikTok recipes is one of yours, Valentina, which is you made like the strawberry whipped coffee, or like the version you're talking about, which is a rendition of dalgona coffee. So it's funny that you picked that as your favorite recipe, because I was like, my favorite recipe is one of Valentina's. And the other funny thing about dalgona coffee, which I find like fascinating, is I'm unclear as to how it got like crazy viral, because funny enough, it's very popular in India, and I would say like a lot of Southeast Asian countries. And we would make this a lot in India and at home when we were too lazy to warm like actual coffee up, because we would just take instant coffee, super popular in India, like the Nescafe. So we would take that and sugar and whip it up, and like it was like a fun thing to do when we were little, and we learned it from our family in India. So like I was like so confused when it went viral, because I was like, wait, other people know this? Like I thought it was just us.
That explains a lot. I got a lot of feedback from people in India saying like, I love this recipe. I make it all the time. And I was like, really? Okay, that explains a lot.
Thing.
I had no clue.
Well, I love that. And we actually have another audience question. Rachel on YouTube, this is a great question, I think, and I'm going to sort of go off on it a little bit too. So Valentina and Priyanka, what are your favorite recipes from your books? And one thing just to spin back to our holiday is that not only were your favorite general recipes, but do you have a favorite recipe from your books that you think would be fun for people to cook during the holidays?
Yep.
What do you think, Valentina? Maybe I'll let you take it off.
Yeah, of course. So my favorite recipe in my cookbook is my honeycomb pasta cake. So as you see, these are rigatoni and they're stacked. So imagine like a pasta cake meets a lasagna, sort of. So it's really fun. It's like a lasagna, but a little more out there. And being Italian, I think Italians are very strict about their food. As you guys have probably noticed, they have a lot of rules when it comes to food. So this is a little unorthodox, and I did get some bad feedback from actual Italians. But if you taste it and if you make the ragu the way your nonna would, or your family recipe, you're gonna love it. Just stick to the good ingredients, but just make it a little conventional and it'll work out really well. But then I would make that for Christmas myself. I don't know if everyone would, but I would maybe do like a side dish. Something that's very popular right now is just like any form of baked brie, baked anything cheese. And in my cookbook, I have a lot of recipes on how to make baked cheeses or fried cheeses in your air fryer instead of using an oven, which I think is very, very helpful. I mean, what I do with my cookbook is I just tell people like, look, whatever cheese you have in the fridge, that'll work. And I offer different options, like either coated in breadcrumbs, or I even take hot Cheeto crumbs, but I don't know if you should do that for Christmas, or just even the crescent rolls, as Priyanka was saying, they're vegan. Maybe you can do vegan cheese with crescent rolls, and then kind of just wrap it into something beautiful, stick it in the air fryer, serve it with some crackers, maybe a little honey drizzle.
That sounds very good. And Priyanka, one thing I'm going to qualify your same question with is, are there recipes in the book that you were particularly excited to make for Diwali when it was, I believe, November 5th this year?
Yeah, it was on November 4th, which is actually 2 days after my pub date of the Modern Tiffin. So
wow.
Very auspicious day, according to
Yes, certainly.
Which is very important. We're all very superstitious in India. Yes, there was actually the recipe that I chose to answer this question, and then also to address your question. It's one and the same. So one of my favorite recipes from the book is from my American Comfort Tiffin chapter, and it's the cornbread gulab jamun. So it looks like this. It's a very dramatic shot. But most people know what gulab jamun is. It's like those brown sugar syrup soaked fritters, essentially. They're very decadent. They're very popular throughout India. It's diabetically sweet, which means it's very good. But they're an occasion. They're like a dessert made for an occasion. My mom makes them, maybe once or twice a year. They're obviously very decadent. So I like this particular recipe, one, because it's vegan. Obviously, everything in my book is vegan. But two, they're actually not deep fried. So I make a batter that involves like kind of a base for a cornbread. So that's why it's in my American Comfort Tiffin chapter, because cornmeal and corn is just so American. So I wanted to kind of bring in that American flair to it. But then I actually make or cook these little rounds, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like that Danish donut pan, the Abskalier cat. You know what I'm talking about? It's like an Abskalier.
I think it's called Äpfelskiva, and the only reason I know this is because my German grandmother makes them, and at least that's how she says it. It might be wrong.
Yeah. So like we actually use those pans in India, but we use it for a savory dish called fud. So we just call it the fud pan. I don't know like the fancy European word for it. So like that's why I don't know how to pronounce it. I usually call it just the fud pan. So I took that concept and I put this batter in there. So it's actually pan fried. It's not deep fried. And then I make a rose saffron syrup that you can drizzle over it. And it's still decadent, but it's fun. It's very festive and flavorful. And when you serve it, it's pretty dramatic. So it's like good for the holidays. So that's my favorite dish in the book, and then generally for holidays. But also another one that I love for the holidays is my masala chickpea bruschetta. So I like this because it's festive. Well, sorry, bruschetta. My God, I need to get the pronunciation. But it's festive because it has pomegranate on it and fresh coriander. So it's like green and red, and it's really easy to make. You can basically make all the components ahead of time. So I like to make my life easy during holiday entertaining. So anything I can make ahead of time is like a win-win for me. And this dish in particular combines like my Italian American sort of background of growing up on Staten Island, and then my love for chickpeas through a lot of different Indian dishes that are very chickpea focused. So that's a good one too.
And pomegranates, I believe, are good luck to eat around the holiday season. So even better, delicious and fills you with luck. So you can't go wrong with that.
Very fortuitous. So we have yet another great audience questions here, everybody. So Heather on YouTube is wondering how you get inspired to create new recipes. And I'll also add that something that I think is really unique to both Priyanka, you, and Valentina is how much you all have been able to travel. And I think how much your travels have informed your recipes. So Priyanka, would love to hear both about travel inspiring your recipes, but also just in general, how you get inspired to create.
Yeah, so I think there's really three kind of areas of interest for me that help me create new recipes and inspire me. One, to no surprise, my heritage. I constantly talk about being first generation Indian American. I have mentioned it here like 15 times. It's just very important to me. But the reason why it's even more important in the inspiration for my food is because I'm particularly Maharashtrian, which means we are from the state of Maharashtra, and also a little bit Karnataka, which is like Midwest and South. And it's not where my kind is not as prevalent in the States. So the type of cooking and food that we have at home is just, you cannot find it at all in a restaurant in the Western world. It's just not common at all. And our food's actually very vegetable focused, if not vegan by default, a lot of the dishes we make. So I get a lot of my inspiration from my background. And then the second place where I get my inspiration is, yes, through my travels. I've traveled to nearly 40 countries globally. So that's why the Modern Tiffin, the subtitle for it is on-the-go dishes with global flair, because each chapter in my book focuses on a different part of the world that I visited and spent time in. And I think, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have the ability to travel. And for me, travel is the best way to learn about culture, and the best way to learn about culture is through food. So I really strive to learn about the different foods in different countries, their agricultural system, the different products that they have. And that has really inspired me. And obviously, like any social media, millennial, Gen Z person, I take 50 million photos anywhere I go and travel. So I have a whole, you know, library of inspiration to look back on. And many times I'll create a dish where, like, you know, I traveled to Japan in 2018, but I'll be inspired to cook something from my memories in Japan, like, you know, years later. So definitely travel. And then the third area of inspiration for me is my focus on sustainability. So obviously I'm vegan, I cook on all vegan, but I strive to live and cook as sustainably as possible. So if anyone follows me on the interwebs, I constantly talk about how to repurpose leftovers, how to cook with the full produce, the carrot tops and the carrot bottoms, the beet tops and the beet bottoms. So for me, sustainability is a huge area of inspiration and also challenge. And I hope to kind of continue bestowing that knowledge on other people as well.
That's great. And Valentina, same question for you. What inspires you to create?
Yeah, it's a great question. I actually get asked this a lot, and like Priyanka said, my background is a huge part. Inspires me a lot. I was really lucky. I got to grow up with my grandparents, living in the same household as me, and we all got to cook together so much. But beyond that, I think it's really simple. As you said, I've been lucky that I got to travel a bit this year, but a lot of the inspiration comes from places I haven't even been to, and it has to do a lot with grocery shopping. So for me, my me time and the way I relax is by going grocery shopping. So I do have like a little system. I go like at least to 7 different markets every week. I love going. There's like a big Asian grocer, like 45 minutes, an hour away from where I live. So I drive there, and I just walk through every single aisle and look at all the ingredients, condiments, snacks. I go to the Italian market after. It's also around that area. I go to Whole Foods. If you're from Florida or you've been to Florida, you know we love our Publix. I go to Publix, then I go to Target, then I go to Walmart for the weird snacks that they always have them there. So for me, it's just like strolling down those aisles and looking at the new products, looking at whatever they have and sometimes I take photos if I'm not ready to purchase it and I need to come up with a recipe, but other times it's just like on the spot, I think of something. And I think we're so lucky that we have our phones on us at all times. So let's say something I've never made before, I just like quickly will look up a recipe and like, okay, I'm missing these 2 other ingredients to make this. And it's just like inspiration happens right then and there. So for me, grocery shopping is a big part of how I come up with recipes and what to post. So you can see, like, if I went to the Asian grocery store, like recently, you can tell by my posts, like you'll see like them in a row. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. And, you know, sort of, so Ashley from Facebook has a question also wrapped in a compliment. She's complimenting how beautiful the photography in the books are, which she is correct. It's wonderful photos. So do you have any thoughts, just sort of what was it like working on photographing your books? And then also on top of that, do you have any suggestions for people who, you know, are interested in posting their food on Instagram or social media, but they feel like they don't know where to start with, you know, making it look appealing, and anything that they can do to sort of up their social media game when it comes to their food and cooking?
Sure. So I would love to say that all the photos were taken by me, but I am not that talented. I actually worked with Melissa Home, who is a New York-based photographer, and she is very talented. She also took this lovely picture of me on the back. So she not only does food, but she does humans and everyone. And I picked her actually as my photographer because I wanted someone who was going to understand the nuances of my culture, but actually isn't part of my culture fully, because I wanted their unique perspective on it, which is why the photos look the way they do. So she did all of my photography, and I've also had an illustrator for my book. In terms of tips for social media, I would say everyone has their own style, and I think that's what makes it fun and unique. So if you have your own style, stick to it. Like, I wouldn't try to mimic someone else or something like that. Like, I think the beauty of social media is going through your feed and seeing such cool, different content, right? If I saw the same thing over and over again, it would be boring. So I would say stick to your own unique style, but be consistent. So if you look at either mine or Valentina's social profile, you can probably, without even seeing our handles, know that it's one of our photos, because our style is so consistent, right? Through photography, through videography. So like for me, I shoot all in natural light. I live in Manhattan, so I only use daylight, but I have like minimal time and space to do that. So it's like between these hours of the day, I need to shoot. So, but everyone, you could see that in my photography and videography, right? So I think consistency is key, and just adding your own unique flair and sticking with that.
Yeah, my case was a little bit different than Priyanka's. So this is a quarantine book. So at the time we couldn't meet in person, so I didn't get the chance to work with a photographer. So all of these photos that you see in the cover are based on real photos I took. So if you go down my profile, you'll see the same unicorn, whipped drink, same stack of deep fried Oreos, same panda pancakes. So we were really lucky to find a photographer, Harper Point Photography, that would mimic the same photos in my same style. So if you go down my feed, you'll see that everything's very colorful, very fun, kind of playful. And I'm really lucky that my book looks the same way. And this photo my mom took in my living room.
Oh,
This is really sweet. My mom helps me out so much, which I'm really lucky that I got Monica's help. That's her name. And basically what we did, that is great. So what we did is just bought this backdrop on Amazon for $19, and then like the little metal holder for the backdrop was probably like another 25. So nowadays it's really easy to get photography equipment online. Lights, I mean, my first set of lights was under $60. You can get a ring light for like 20, and it's super, super helpful. Other than that, I think take advantage of your phone, going down settings on your phone and trying to shoot 1080p or 4K. So that's the format. And I think that's super helpful. As Priyanka said, natural light. As you can tell, she's always standing by a window. In her videos, she's next to her window. I live in Miami, so I'm not right next to my window, so I have to use a little bit more artificial light. But it looks just as good. I think that the more you practice, the more you will learn, and you will get that consistent look. I mean, it took me many years to find my look. And if you go down my feed, you'll see that every year it changes a little bit. If you go down my photos now, I appear in my photos a little bit more. If you scroll like a year and a half, it looked very different. I was stuck in quarantine. I wasn't dressing up. I was wearing sweatpants all the time. So it's normal for your style to change, and it's something you should embrace. And then something that I think is a little bit different about my book and that I had to mention is that since it's an unofficial TikTok cookbook, I had to make an intro for TikTok. So I do spill all my secrets on how I create my videos, how I do my photography. And it's basically what I said. I have a couple of cheap artificial light sources. I stand by a window whenever possible. I have a collection of different plates, different colors. For fun, I get them at Hobby Lobby or the $1 Target section. I mean, really cheap. IKEA has some great for under $1. And I have a couple little tripods. I have one that you just hook onto your tables. It's called like an arm or a C stand, and also $15, super cheap. I just hook my phone I can move it anywhere. I think you have one of those or a couple, Priyanka. And that's how I get started. And as you get more into it, you'll see like, oh, maybe I could improve this. Let me look up a YouTube tutorial. Let me purchase this. So you can save up money and buy little things, but I promise you, like most gadgets you can purchase are under $20. But just to start, you just need your phone, your two hands, and an idea.
Well, that was definitely inspiring for someone who needs some serious help taking photos of her food. I will definitely be adapting all of those great tips and tricks. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time, guys. This has been such a great conversation. I want to just remind everybody watching about the giveaway that we're running in the comments. And then really quickly before we sign off, Priyanka and Valentina, will you just let everyone know where the best place to connect with you online is?
Yeah, so I am Chef Priyanka across all platforms, all over the interwebs. So you can get me on Instagram, on TikTok, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, literally. It's at Chef Priyanka. And I also have a website, www.chefpriyanka.com, where I actually try to post recipes regularly, not that aren't in the book. So a lot of free content and recipes there, as well as on my Instagram. So that's where you can get me, and all throughout those different platforms and pages there are links to the book as well.
Well, you guys, Valentina Russi, and you can find me at Sweet Portfolio on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. I post stories every day, and like beyond food, I just show a little bit of my lifestyle and what I do. I'm like a really easygoing person. So here, Sweet Portfolio, and I also have links to my book, which is available wherever books are sold. Same with Priyanka's, The Modern Tiffin.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time. This is such a wonderful conversation. Thank you both for joining us. And thank you so much to everyone at home for tuning in. We will be back again soon for another Books for Cooks Live.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Holidays.